Hey guys, welcome back to the next part of our series. Today we're going to continue with our character. We're going to be working on some of the clothing and drapery that we had from before. So before we move on, there's a couple of things I did in the background here. I smoothed this mesh for a couple of levels. I give it a little bit of more subdivision here, just to get the wrinkles into a nicer shape like so. I got rid of the belt that we were using as a placeholder for what's going to eventually be our corset, which I'm actually going to be working on very briefly, or very shortly, sorry. And I did some adjustments on the arms and a couple of things here and there for the general purpose of our character. And there's a couple of things we're going to be doing with hers. But the first thing we need to do is I need to make sure, I need to get this mesh probably or most sorry, I need to get all of this mesh back into Maya so that I can understand how the new proportions are working and so that I can model some of the props that she's going to be wearing. But before I do that, and this is the main purpose of this video, I want to give it a little bit more detail here on the outer side of the skirt. And what I'm going to do is very easy. I'm going to grab my Damien Standard. I'm going to go up here into the stroke menu. I'm going to grab my lazy mouse and bring the lazy radius up. This is going to allow me to get nice long cuts into the cloth. Now, before I do this though, I need to make sure that my back face masking is on. Let's do a quick check here. I'm going to go into Preferences, Config. I'm going to say Enable Customize. I'm going to go to Brush, Auto Masking, and then I'm going to select Control, Alt, and I'm going to move the back face masking all the way up here. I was sure I had it there, but apparently not. Preferences, Enable Customize, there we go. Now my back face masking is permanently there. So I'm going to turn this on. This is going to make sure that no matter how hard I hit this front face, I will not attack the back face. But now that I remember, this is a thin piece. I do not have thickness on this, so it's actually not that big of a deal now that I think of it. I'm going to keep pushing these lines with my Damien Standard, and this is pretty much going to help me define the overall flow of the cloth right here. Now the reason this is important is because as players and as an audience, we generally expect cloth to be very wrinkly, similarly to what we would have if we didn't iron our shirts and stuff like that. So the audience does expect to have a little bit of extra folds here and there. Not necessarily realistic folds, but just folds that are gonna kind of deceive the eye into thinking that this is cloth. Because otherwise it looks a little bit too stiff. So adding a couple cloths or folds here and there really helps push the cloth of our character. It's again, it's one of those things that you don't really or necessarily need to have for a realistic thing, but it does help. Similar to what we hear, I'm sure some of you have heard this, but there's this thing where if you are used to listening to horses, you know, walking in movies, horses will do this like clapping sound, like cluck, 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 and they do that by using like coconuts, I think, or something like that. And the trick is that we're so used to that sound from movies that if we don't hear it, we feel like something's wrong. Same with the swords, like coming out of their scabbard. We like hearing that metallic kind of sound. Well, same thing happens here with the cloth. If we don't have any wrinkles, if we don't have any extra information, it feels kind of off. So it's always good to just add that kind of stuff. Now, to make sure that your folds are nice and long, just bring the radius quite high, like so. Like so. Try to follow a flow as well. For instance, all of this specific wrinkles that I'm trying to capture here, I'm trying to bring them down here into in this case, into the leg. You can move the skirt a little bit just to make sure that we're not interfering. A lot of smoothing will come a long way. Now, I have this issue here with my character, and that's the fact that when I did the simulation in Marvelous, I left this spiky thing here, and I don't really want it, so I need to smooth it out, maybe go back or go low a couple of subdivision levels, use my move brush and move these vertices slightly in so that I don't get that like weird pinch. I mean, it's not the end of the day, or it's not the end of the It's not a big issue, that's what I meant to say. But still, if we can get it to look a little bit nicer, it's always good. Now, don't worry too much about the texture. Texture for cloth specifically, I found with my experience that it's easier to just do it in the texturing stages. Because if you try to do like the micro, like square kneaded kind of pattern, you can do it, but you're gonna have to raise your subdivision quite high, and it's usually not effective or efficient for you here in ZBrush. So just try to avoid that and just work here with general shapes. Maybe a couple of wrinkles, like on different stages, can help. Works kind of like sometimes you'll have these weird looking wrinkles where you shouldn't. Maybe damage. There will be more loose cloths here and there. Let's add a couple of pillars here in the back, so we don't have as many. Anytime you have a part of the body that's pushing towards the surface of your cloth, you're probably gonna have a couple of pillars and a couple of pressure points, similar to what we talked about in our previous videos. I do recommend going down in subdivision levels if it's getting a little bit difficult to work with on the upper levels, and just bring it up, like so. Make sure that I'm not intersecting. That's why it's very important to keep the whole body there, so that you know whether or not your character is intercepting the geometry or not. There we go. That looks nice. Again, you could do the cloth pattern right now, right here, but I advise against it, because again, if you don't really know what's the amount of detail that you're gonna have, and especially in this kind of dress that's gonna be very clean, you don't really need to. If you were gonna have like a very torn cloth, then yeah, go ahead and sculpt all of that information, because all of that's gonna be on your high poly, and you do want to have that kind of information for your character. But in this case, we want kind of like a clean dress. It's like her Sunday dress, so she's just going through the forest, exploring a little bit, and she's not gonna get her dress dirty. Now, other than that, this is the perfect spot to come up here into the character and start working a little bit on the details. For instance, I want to add a couple of little more wrinkles here on the fold of the arm, so that it's a little bit more defined, that you can see it from farther away. I might come here with the get rid of the lazy radius, so that I can sculpt a little bit more easiness. Just add a little bit more there. Now my character right now, she's at or the highest subdivision level that I have for her, it's at 5 million. That's quite a bit. It's not super heavy, but it is quite a bit. I don't want to go one extra level, because if I do a Control D right now, you're gonna see that even though my computer can easily handle it with 20 million polygons, it's gonna get a little bit more difficult to work with, and it's really not efficient, especially because we're gonna be doing something interesting with the head in just a couple of minutes. There's a lot of body parts that are not gonna be as visible, such as the higher or upper legs, and it's really, I think it's kind of a waste to go that high when I still have a lot of detail here. Like for instance, if we go into the fingers, at 5 million polygons, which is my like half division, we still have enough detail to like the main wrinkles of the fingers, like right here, which we will be working on as soon as we get into the detailing phase. We're gonna have the nail, of course, the nail bed, and the nail coming this way, like so. So you can see even at 5 million polygons, we still get enough definition to have a nice detail. If we want more, we can get more, but we're gonna do that in an efficient way. We don't want to just push our subdivisions as high as we can go just for the sake of it. We need to be very, very smart whenever we try to modify this kind of stuff. I'm gonna do a quick change here. Just come with my Damien Standard actually. I'm gonna give a little bit more definition on how the breasts sit on top of the chest. You can add a little bit of volume there. I want a very clearly defined line, so that it looks like they're actually on top and not just sculpted from. Anyway, what I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna turn off the hair because we don't really need it right now. I'm gonna turn it off right here, and I'm gonna turn, no, not the, that's the dress, this is the hair. And I'm gonna go into my base here, and I'm gonna turn it off as well. And I'm gonna do a decimation with all of this. So I'm gonna go all low. I don't need to do the like the high definition. I just need the overall form of my character, to be honest. So this is gonna make it easier. And I'm just gonna combine this. So I'm gonna go into merge visible. Select this guy. It's actually low enough that I can just export it. So I'm just gonna export it like so. Let's do, yeah, export. And in the next video, we will be working in Maya, and we will do the belt and a couple of other secret things that I want to show until that video. So keep on working, guys. I hope this short video was useful for you, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.